Yeah, so there'll be.
Everybody coming closer. Can't hear.
We're on Tonga and a hospital land. And I'm acknowledging that we're on our Tonga hospital land today, and I was given a song welcoming the ancestor song from Rebecca Lopez, who's a Hashman. She'll be able to sing for minutes. I also sing it at standing rock. This song has been
Better if you just speak up.
This song has been used to acknowledge the Tonga. And so it has 4 rounds. Please sing. That's where the ancestors to come in and welcome ceremony, so that we're proceeding to all things whatever. Solidarity just say that when inside I had it standing off out there for my fighting for water was the realization that it was a global community, and an example that our best example of what we can achieve when we come together from whatever walks of life, whatever race you are. It's the best example that we can accomplish. That we can accomplish. What's that? I just pray for that. I think peace is like a temporary state. I don't know that we can have world peace as a permanent status, because peace means something different to everybody. Okay. For example, last year we were on the trial, but we're just those in those last. What was your idea of peace? Your idea of peace was the world without Black people. So how can we have world peace when you have people like that one? You know, some people's idea of peace is bombing other countries. You can't believe it. Killing innocent civilians for industry. So that's why I don't really think that would be such a big world peace for everybody. You know, I believe this is what I think people to accomplish. What should be world peace. So thanks for being here. Thank you to the veterans for your service. To celebrate this peace. So much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natasha. We're so pleased to have you here representing the indigenous people that once inhabited this land. Next, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. This is traditional on Armistice Day. It's a part of the Veterans for Peace, and that will be followed with some bells. So everybody bow their heads for a moment. Silence. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Tracy Ballard, who is going to be Thank you so much, Tracy. Tracy Ballard is from the First Congregational Church of Concord. Next, I'd like to invite up Dale, who is going to give us an explanation of bells. Dale? Where's Dale?
Dale? Dale.
Early with the bells. Well, we're gonna get at 11. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't break it.
Hi, everybody. Okay, that's fine. I know. Okay.
You got 6 minutes, Dale.
I don't think about. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? If I'm mic, it's right in my mouth. That's good. Okay. This kind of started last year in my front yard because this started last year in my front yard when, as a member of the Long Beach Area Peace Network. How many are here part of the Long Beach Area Peace Network? I want to hold a Veterans for Peace material out of St. Louis that has this thing, Reclaim Armistice Day. So we did a little baby member in a couple of other backyards. Some are a front yard, my front yard, Pat's front yard. I'm sorry. But we kind of made it larger this year. Trying to incorporate not only the peace community, but also the interfaith interfaith community. I can talk loud, so I will. So thank you all for being here. The real origin of this is with the Veterans for Peace. The word armistice doesn't mean anything except from two Latin roots meaning cessation of physical fighting. When World War I ended, the war to end all wars, are you with me? They stopped fighting, and that was the original Armistice Day. A year later, in 1919, the churches of Europe rang their bells at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month to celebrate the end of what was then called the Great War. Remember, they didn't know about World War II yet. So that's where this Armistice Day idea comes from. But I want to give a footnote to that. We honor all veterans. This is Veterans Day. We're not trying to, let's give the veterans a hand. Thank you for your service. And some of the veterans, especially in Veterans for Peace, have come back from conflicts and they're going, we don't think we want to do that again. It's not a good idea. It's too boring. It's too horrible. So at the very least, let's reclaim the armistice portion of Veterans Day. You understand what I'm saying? We're not trying to replace it with the idea of armistice, but we're trying to make sure we bring the original meaning back. This day, November 11th, was Armistice Day until anybody know when? 1954, when the Eisenhower administration changed it to Veterans Day to honor all the veterans of all the wars, not just World War I. So thank you all for being here. That's where we're coming from, and we're just so happy you're all here for a day of peace and learning about armistice. And by the way, when you get to the other end, we have the words to "Let There Be Peace on Earth," a wonderful old 50s song that was composed for the International Peace Choir right here in Long Beach, one of our children's choirs. I'll give you the words to that when you get to the other end. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Gail, very much. Is it better to hear me like this, or do you want me to just talk like this?
Do both.
Okay. Both?
Why not do both?
Do both. Okay. So thank you again all for being here. I would like to introduce the beginning of a very important ceremony that happens all over the world, except not so much here. So let this be the beginning of that. Today for our ceremony that starts in about 2 minutes, maybe one, I want to call up Anna, is she here? To bring the flowers to the cannon before we ring the 11 bells. This is a very symbolic, you have the flowers, you know where they are?
Remember, this is unrehearsed.
Okay, sorry. And so we're going to ring the 11 bells, and I would like to introduce our bell ringers for today. Musa, you want to come on up? And Tracy from the First Congregational Church. If you haven't seen their bell choir before, you're missing something. And at the count, we got 1 minute, right? You want to give us a signal? 30 seconds. Yes, 11.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Susan Brooks. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm the president of the South Coast Interfaith Council and the Social Justice Chair at Temple Bethel in San Pedro. Although I am serving in an official capacity on behalf of SCIC, I am also the mother-in-law of a veteran. For me, war is very personal. My son-in-law was in the Army Reserve and served a one-year tour of duty in the Middle East. He left his wife and 2 small children home while he went in the name of serving his country. We texted each other while he was gone. He told me things he couldn't tell my daughter because he didn't want to put the stress on her. He told me about the things he couldn't unsee. He told me about the way they were taught to dehumanize the locals because there's no way of knowing who was a threat and who wasn't. He was taught that the only way to protect himself was to do this. Thankfully, he never saw combat, but he came back with PTSD and will never be quite the same. His service wasn't part of a traditional war. It was part of the war on terror. This war caused nearly 1 million deaths and $8 trillion. I often think about how that money could have been used to provide infrastructure and peaceful intervention in war-torn countries. What mental health services and housing could have been provided to the American veterans of other wars, including the over 500,000 veterans that live on our streets today. There is another war that's been raging for 20 years that most Americans don't know about. I know this war because of 3 young people from there that I have mentored, as well as from friends that are there performing Herculean tasks to bring peace to their country. That country is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Congo is the richest country in the world in terms of our natural resources. It's where we get our tin, tungsten, tantalum that is in every one of these cameras, cell phones, the cars going by. Yet it is also the poorest country in the world as far as the resources for their people. Rebel groups, proxies, and at times Congo's own military have perpetrated war crimes on the eastern part of the country where most of the mineral resources are found. The area of the country is often referred to as the rape capital of the world. What better way to terrorize villages than raping the women from babies to grandmothers, thereby tearing apart the very fabric of society. It is where Dr. Dennis Mukwege, the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize winner, was recognized for his efforts to end rape, the use of sexual violence as a weapon of war and armed conflict. That's where he's from, and that's where he's worked tirelessly as an OBGYN to repair the bodies and souls of tens of thousands of women and babies. The U.S. has long had a stake in Congo. Its claim on Congolese uranium was used to manufacture the atomic bombs that were dropped in Japan in World War II. The CIA supported Congo's Mobutu and aided the plans to assassinate the next leader, Lumumba, all in the name of U.S. interests. In no way has any of this been there to improve the life of the residents. In recent years, the U.S. has sent in special forces to aid the Congolese military, but not to the betterment of humanity yet. I call the young people I've mentored my sons and my daughter. My Congolese daughter lost her father while in her mother's womb. He tried to rescue his pregnant wife from rebel soldiers who were raping her. Her mother died when she was only 9 years old, leaving her an orphan. She never knew her parents' names. She has no pictures, and she does not even know her own last name. U.S. intervention has not changed the conditions in Congo. So you see, war is very personal for me, as it is to almost every one of you gathered here today. A little over 100 years ago, a ceasefire was signed that signaled the end of World War I. The Great War, it was called. And Armistice Day was the way the world marked this day of peace as a call for the end of all wars. We know that call was not heeded. The world seems to be in a perpetual state of war. Every major world religion includes a doctrine of peace, of welcoming the stranger, of recognizing every person, every human possessing a divine spirit. Yet we continue to have wars all over the world, sometimes even in the name of religion. We live in a country where the military budget is more than the next highest 11 countries combined. Our military budget is $1.1 trillion a year. That amounts to more than 10% of all federal spending and nearly half of all discretionary spending. Not only that, but excess military equipment has been distributed to police forces across the country, where it is used to terrorize U.S. citizens. Without a mandatory draft, recruitment efforts after 9/11 allowed individuals in the military that normally would have been screened out as unfit to serve because of their political beliefs or ideologies. Some of those people are now back in our communities, engaging in white nationalist activities with their military training. The military is also the largest institutional source of greenhouse gases, as we stand here in November when it's over 80 degrees. It's not too late to reverse the effects of over-militarization, but it will take all of us to make those changes. Today, we reclaim Armistice Day, and tomorrow we work to call on our elected officials to reprioritize the federal budget and support policies that will reverse these harmful effects of war. Next, I'd like to introduce Antonio Palacios of Veterans for Peace.
Oh, you know me.
Do it, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining here to reclaim Armistice Day. My name is Antonio Palacios. I'm a member of Veterans for Peace. And we heard a very great explanation of Armistice Day from Dale. Thank you very much for that. It went from a day of warning of lest we forget these horrors and had the meaning stripped, so what's left is about honoring sacrifice. But whose sacrifice and for what? So it's important to reclaim Armistice Day and build movements dedicated to the cause of peace. My story's a pretty common cliche, right? I was a smart, hardworking, ambitious brown kid from La Puente, California. I was destined to get to a good school, but my family had no money. And what every poor kid knows, if you serve, the government's going to pay for your college. So I took the ASVAB exam. I scored well. I signed a contract. I went to boot camp. And 5 weeks later, 9/11 happened. The days following the attacks are memorable for everyone. My boot camp division was tense and a quietly emotional place. I remember when one recruit from my division fell to his knees crying when a dental officer called his name for an appointment. He thought for sure he was being sent straight to the front lines because of his low ASVAB score. His red face, full of tears, is burned into my memory. He was 17. He had never been to a dentist. He told me he realized that day how young he really was. I eventually arrived at my ship and we deployed to the Persian Gulf as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. Life on board the ship was exactly as you'd expect on a naval vessel. Uniforms, regimented schedules, tight spaces, no privacy, ship meals, general quarters drills, lots of time staring out into the open ocean. In 6 months that we spent in the hostile fire zone, our ship only saw one day of external danger. While passing through the Strait of Hormuz, that March, our slow, round transport ship needed to pass a small, fast, heavily gunned Iranian frigate patrolling access to the Persian Gulf. The captain sent us to general quarters, and we spent 4 hours preparing for a potentially deadly firefight. When those 4 hours were over, like a zombie, I walked to my bed and I slept until the next morning. When I woke up, I can tell something had changed in my brain chemistry. I was a different person that morning than the person who woke up the morning before. There were internal dangers as well. My ship had a new command master chief, the highest ranking enlisted person on the ship. He had taken a liking to me. I even overheard him pointing at me and saying, "That is the future of the Navy." That was just the beginning of a 12-month period of grooming that would eventually lead to public, aggressive, and hostile acts of sexual harassment with quid pro quo elements. I was 22. I was taking on the biggest challenge of my life at that point, navigating life in wartime while trying to escape threats of blackmail in a homophobic system he knew he could use against me. It was tough. It was traumatizing. And it took everything I had not to lose all the work I put into it, earning my college education. He was allowed to retire, and I received an early discharge under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, having served 3 years and 1 day. Luckily, just enough time to earn the GI Bill. When some well-intended person on Veterans Day thanks me for my service, I don't know how to accept it. I don't know how to hear those words and feel normal. I don't know how to casually reply with a thank you without feeling something stick to me that I don't want to feel. I think of my supervisor, PN1. He grew up in a rough neighborhood around Atlanta. He told stories of being harassed by police at 12 years old. By 17, a judge told him he had a choice. You could go to prison or you can serve. My office mate, another PN3, he from Nigeria, was promised he could stay in the country if he served. You may be aware, but the US has not kept all those promises. A young yeoman in my division from Wisconsin Rust Belt Sound couldn't find a job, so he chose to serve. An engineering second-class petty officer on board my ship came to my personnel office to file documents that his mother was finally his legal dependent. He had served for 5 years, and he joined because his mother needed health care for her chronic illness, and that was 5 years later. None of this is voluntarism. This is extraction. These are failed systems of justice, healthcare, housing, education, and economics, and poor people are being taken advantage of. How can a person accept a thank you for playing a role in that? During the year leading up to my discharge, I watched the Bush administration push obvious lies that led to the invasion of Iraq. I remember being out to sea and writing home to my family asking why nobody was stopping it. I was angry with the Bush administration, those bastards. I was angry with Congress that was going along with it and providing funding. I was angry with the people that I saw as the real adults, not 20-year-olds, the adults out there. Why aren't they stopping this? I don't know how to accept the fact that 1 million Iraqis are dead now over those lies. I don't know how to accept thank you for your service in relation to that. Torture, Guantanamo, the Patriot Act, the authorization for use of military force that continues to wage a war on terror we do not see on television, for the whistleblowers who were the only people to pay any consequences for any of this. How do you accept a thank you for your service? Whose sacrifice are we remembering? What was that sacrifice for? So we assemble here today. We take the opportunity to reclaim Armistice Day. We join each other as voices for peace, and we reject the glorification of domination and war. We know that war over oil isn't over. We know wars over lithium and water have been promised to us very soon. We know the Pentagon produces as much climate changing pollution as 140 countries combined. Rather than direct these trillions of dollars in resources to building a clean energy system, we prepare to dominate the devastated planet it leaves behind. We have to reclaim Armistice Day. We have to build movements for peace and justice every chance we get. So I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful for all of you who've shown up here, and I thank you very much. And I'd like to invite all of you now to march with us. And I'd like to thank the volunteers from Veterans for Peace who are going to be directing us on the march. And they will be providing masks for anyone who doesn't have them. So thank you. My name is Antonio Palacios.
Okay, just some last minute directions for anybody that's still wondering. Put the mic away. Okay, it's an echo. So there are lots of kites here. We're going to be walking from here to the Lone Sailor. It's less than a mile. So please grab a kite if you would, or help with the Veterans for Peace sign. And Anna, wave your hand. The Lambeteria Peace Network, one of our sponsors, we thank all our sponsors, is updating the Levopin list. And they're working on a poetry event. And so please sign up if you would like to get a very low traffic amount of emails about the things that the Long Beach Area Peace Network is doing. So look for the vets, make sure you have a mask, and we'll see you at the Lone Sailor. With a better microphone. They're setting up more live music. Extra master over here.
But it's Friday. Wait, oh no, today's just Thursday. Yes. Good to see you. Tired? I think it's 7:30.
Thank you. There's people that didn't even know it was starting, so they're like, "Let's do it."
Stop so this person can go. Go. I'm guessing you can proceed now. I'm guessing you can proceed now. Are you going to lead the march or?
Yeah, okay, you're saying this. So where do you live here right now?
Hello, Jane. How are you? Yeah. Me too.
So much from behind. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody, what's going on? I'm being drawn. Nobody's right, everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind. So much resistance from behind. Time to stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody, look what's going on. What a big day for the future. Thousand people in the street. Songs carrying sound.
All right. Okay, everybody, you made it. And I think this mic works a lot better and you can hear me better this time. At this time, I want to introduce Cy Reddy, who is from Cerritos High School, who is responsible in part for these lovely kites you see. Yay!
Good morning, everybody. My name is Cy Reddy, and I'm a student from Cerritos High School. Every year, on the 11th day of the 11th month, we gather to remember and to honor those people who died and survived, and to educate for peace and for justice. When World War I ended with an Armistice Day on November 11th, 1918, Armistice Day, called Veterans Day today, was designated as a day to celebrate world peace. Since then, that purpose, that mission, that dream to keep the state of peace seems to have been lost somewhere along the way. After World War II, the U.S. Congress has decided to rebrand November 11th as Veterans Day, honoring the warrior quickly morphed into honoring a day for military and glorifying war. Armistice Day was flipped from a day from peace into a day for displays of militarism. With wars and international conflict so common these days, we become acclimated to hearing about them in the news. Acclimated, but not immune. Among the people who've been affected by the destruction of war are our own, our sons, sisters, uncles, and mothers. Regardless of how distant they may seem, they're only a step away from ringing our doorbells. But organizations such as Veterans for Peace, who have so kindly invited me to speak in front of y'all today, have taken the lead in lifting up the original intention of November 11th as a day for peace. This Armistice Day, Veterans for Peace, Military Families Speak Out, and the South Coast Interfaith Council call on the U.S. public to say no more to war and to demand justice and peace at home and abroad. We know peace is possible and call for an end to all oppressive and violent politics and for equality of all people. Over 100 years ago, the world celebrated peace as a universal principle. The First World War had just ended, and nations mourning their dead collectively called for an end to all wars. Celebrating peace, not war, is the best way to honor the sacrifice of veterans. We want generations after us, after me, to never know the destruction war has brought on the people. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Reverend Jerry Stinson, the Senior Minister Emeritus of First Congregational Church of Long Beach.
This is supposed to be an opening prayer. At the end, you'll have to decide whether it really is. Remembering the hope embedded in the Armistice aspirations at the end of World War I, we who walk on differing pathways of faith must recognize that the road to peace is grounded in freedom and justice that's exemplified by Moses and the Hebrew prophets. The road to peace is grounded in radical inclusion, found in the teachings and the example of Jesus, the peasant sage. The road to peace is grounded in the enlightened spirituality of Gautama Buddha and the many wise Hindu and Sikh gurus. The road to peace is grounded in the sacredness of the earth, as reflected in the indigenous communities almost wiped out by the violence of American colonial domination. The road to peace is grounded in steadfast devotion to compassion, set forth by Muhammad, the Sufi mystics of Baha'u'llah. And the road to peace is grounded in reason, cherished by humanists and those without any organized religion, who nevertheless practice kindness. Now, we of all those differing faiths walk side by side in a world still filled with war, a world where American drones rain fire from the skies on an Afghan family mistaken for terrorists, a world where Ethiopia seeks literally to starve into submission those who drive, a world in which Rohingya and Uyghur Muslims are tortured and few anywhere, especially in America, care, and a world where people in Gaza and Yemen are bombed relentlessly with American-supplied weapons and left with uninhabitable towns and cities. In such a world, our prayers must confess that we often put our faith in military power rather than in creating communities of trust and love. That in the name of faith, we dehumanize others and claim that God is somehow always on our side. We confess that by our actions and inaction, we often become agents of violence and destruction. So this day, let us pledge anew to seek a new armistice that will challenge the militarism of our broken world. An armistice not just talking about peace, but actually peacemaking. Walking together, seeing the sacredness of the human spirit that's in every one of our neighbors, of all races, nationalities, sexual orientations, and gender identity. May we strive to build a world where without missiles in our streets, without guns and tanks on the ground, and without drones in the air, we can all go forth and live fully, love wasteful, and be all we can be. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Pat Alviso, the National Coordinator of Military Families Speak Out.
Thank you, Susan. It's a very big pleasure for all of us to be here and see everybody here today. Thank you. First, I would like to introduce Wayne. He's the chapter president of Chapter 110, Veterans for Peace, with a poem that's going to, I think, make us all think.
Well, of course, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today, taking that long walk. And yeah, we're trying. The reason we're trying to change it back from to Armistice Day was to honor the fact that people, the people, women, children, a lot of people died, not just soldiers during the war, and that was why they started Armistice Day, was to honor everybody that's affected by war. That's the grandmothers, the children that are killed in their towns. We've never been in a situation like that where you're looking and you don't know if the building next to you is going to be blown apart or your building. So, with that in mind, I have a poem by Brian David Hazel, written in 2016. War never changes. The sky is falling. The people are hiding. The jackboots are on their way. A mother is calling. A child is crying. Uncertain they'll live through the day. The tanks, they're treading across sovereign borders. Some soldiers are dreading their inhumane orders. Though they have an advantage, this war can't be won. And that collateral damage, is on somebody's son. Victims of war are poor and the sick, slaughtered like cattle for the wealthy and rich, period. Mic drop.
Just a quick reminder to keep the sidewalk there because there's a lot of people running fast along the path.
Thank you so much for that poem, Wayne. Next, I'd like to introduce with great honor my rabbi, Rabbi Cassie Kale from Temple Beth El in San Pedro.
Thank you so much, Susan, and thank you to everyone for being here today. It really is such a holy thing for us to be in sacred community with one another. I want to begin with a prayer written by Rabbi Nachman of Wrocław for peace. May it be your will, Holy One, our God ancestors, God, that you erase war and bloodshed from the world, and that in its place draw down a great and glorious peace, so that nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Rather, may all the inhabitants of the earth recognize and deeply know this great truth, that we have not come into this world for strife and division, nor for hatred and rage, nor for provocation and bloodshed. We have come here only to encounter you, eternally blessed one. And so we ask your compassion upon us, raise up by us what is written. I shall place peace upon the earth, and you shall lie down safe and undisturbed. And I shall banish evil beasts from the earth, and the sword shall not pass through your land. But let justice come in like waves of water, and righteousness flow like a river. For the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Holy One as the waters cover the sea. So may it be, and we say, Amen. But I want to say just one other thing, which is that today I chose to wear a shirt with poppy seeds on. You might know that during or after World War I, poppy seeds were a common sight, especially across Western Europe, because the soldiers' boots had turned up the soil. The blood of soldiers had fertilized. And from the ground that had been so war-ridden, poppy seeds began to sprout forth, a symbol of birth, a symbol of life, a symbol of hope in the future. And so I hope today in this worn, torn world that we too can create new poppy seeds of peace and work together and call upon lawmakers, call upon ourselves to work towards a world that doesn't see war anymore. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Rebecca. Now, I don't know if this next person was planned, because if you know Swahili, their last name means peace. But it's my pleasure to introduce Alahe Amani of the Long Beach Area Peace Network. Hello, Long Beach. It's my pleasure to be here and given the opportunity to say a few words. Happy Armistice Day. We are gathered here to reclaim Armistice Day. This is the day that Armistice signed between the Allies of World War I and Germany in France 103 years ago. The day declared national holiday in many Allied countries as Remembrance Day, a day to celebrate peace and the end of war. We are here to reclaim this day as a true Armistice Day in the name of 4 million Afghan and Iraq veterans. We are here to reclaim this day and shifting the paradigm of war and occupation to peace negotiation, as we believe the 2 trillion cost of healthcare, disability, burial, and other costs could have spent on veterans, invested in humanitarian aid and economic empowerment here at home and abroad. We are here to reclaim this day in the name of close to 50,000 Afghan civilians who lost their lives in 20 years of occupation. We are here to reclaim this day and saying enough is enough in military expenses that can be reallocated to fight poverty, homelessness here and abroad. Did you know that the US did not pay for the largest war of 2 decades in Iraq and Afghanistan? Did you know that it was debt financing that as of 2020 was $2 trillion and estimated interest costs by 2050 up to 6.5 trillion. We are here to reclaim this day as a true Armistice Day, as a day to end war and occupation, as war never has been the answer. 20 years ago, when I was in Kabul, Afghanistan, I asked an old man who witnesses war and occupation of Soviet Union and the US, and I said, "Is Taliban finally gone?" And he told me he was 103 years old. And he looked at me and he said, "Just look around in Bazaar, they're all here." This was 20 years ago when we went to Afghanistan. He responded that, and now we are dealing with Afghan refugees in US, in our neighborhood, and their hard day is not for refugees, the hard day is not done when they are here in another country. It's just beginning of another series of challenges. I finish it by saying that the budget that we allocate to militarization can be shifted to economic empowerment, to homelessness, and to peace building and humanitarian aid. I want to finish by a quote by Justice Sack, Afghan veteran, who said, quote, "You know the first chapter of the book, and then hopefully, you know the last chapter of the book. But everything in between was very much ill-defined." Thank you. Thank you so much, Alana. Our next speaker is Tahil Sharma, Interfaith Minister and Board Member of Sadhana, a coalition for progressive Hindus.
Hello, everyone. I am about to chant what we call the Shanti Path, which is an important prayer that helps us remember that Sacredness and dignity is everywhere. But let's remember that this sacredness and this dignity does not mean peace is a passive term. It is the most active term that we can find in our jargon. So when we're striving for that peace, remember it's to strive for a peace that we've never achieved before. It's for a peace that we want to make sure that strives for accountability, for justice, and for mutual abundance. That's the peace we're looking for. A peace that does not hurt, a peace that brings joy to all of us. So for those of you that want to pray and meditate as I chant, please do so in your comfortable tradition. Oh. Yo Shanti, Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Rapa Shanti, Oshathaya Shanti, Vanaspataya Shanti, Vishve Deva Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Sarvatva Shanti, Shanti Reva Shanti, Samam Shanti Reva. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Shubham Bhavatu. May there be peace within us, among us, and all around us. From now until Armistice Day is a day of peace that starts a chapter for peace for all of us. Thank you.
Next, we have something a little bit different. We have some spoken word from Claudia Gold of the Baha'i community.
Sing a song of armistice. Sing a song of peace. I am the old one who's seen it all, who can't weep or wail anymore. Watching other mothers' children shredding each other's lives in the name of some worthy cause that will get its own statue, only to be declared immoral and torn down in 50 years. I wish they'd sing a song of armistice, raise statues to putting weapons down, dancing dances of hope, following breadcrumbs of light. Nowadays, folks watch war on TV like it was Monday Night Football, forgetting that it's somebody's husband dying, his plane shut down, someone's mother watching her stolen children become child soldiers, someone's daughter raped and raped and raped till nothing's left, someone's son holding his body as he bleeds out amid gunfire. And all this in the name of someone's grand idea of good guys, bad guys, mind-made, man-made constructs having nothing to do with reality. They're not poppies blooming, sunrise over hills, sunset over ocean, trees laden with summer fruit, lovers entwined with each other. Everything God has given us that's real, that's tangible, that's life, living itself, putting smiles on our faces without even trying. I wish they'd sing a song of armistice, put their weapons down, dance, a dance of hope, and try to find the breadcrumbs of light. I wish they'd realize that God is God is God. That it's the same God, Al-Salam, that all are from God. that we're all connected in this vast ocean of oneness, not waiting till our judgment day to wish we'd shared our strawberries with a starving stranger. My rabbi father used to tell the story about how when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea and saw the Egyptians' chariots chasing them, were about to be engulfed by water, they rejoiced. But an angel said, "Do not rejoice. They are my children too, and they are dying." My friend, the one who prayed for our loved ones on my dorm bed, I asked her long distance to Atlanta, how can a sincere Christian start a war? You see, I once had a blonde neighbor, Louise, who was a Christian too, and grew tomatoes in the window box in her kitchen, who let drivers cut in when we drove together, who brought me a plant when I moved in and taught me how to organize my clutter. Louise, she told me in her high voice, whispering truth, that she realized that to be a Christian is to love each other. Love each other. Love each other. Love even the guy I hitchhiked with, who put a gun to my head, pulling the trigger 3 times. Said he'd done this when he was a Marine in Nam. Adrenaline exploding my brain into fireworks in the passenger seat of that white van, where following orders was all I could do to survive. I wish I could have sung him a song of armistice, letting him know that he could put his weapon down, that he could try dancing, following breadcrumbs of light. But could he? It's hard to wait for the planet to evolve. I don't have that long, either. So I will dance a dance of hope, even when I feel hopeless, and follow whatever breadcrumbs of peace I can find, even though they may be tainted with blood. And I will hope and hope and hope that when I finally open my eyes to look around me, that someone or many someones will be beside me, each dancing their own dance of hope, following breadcrumbs of light and singing softly, gently. Do not be Hashem, Hashem. Please join in if you know it. Do not be Hashem. Do not be Hashem, Hashem. Do not be Hashem. Do not be Hashem, Hashem. Do not be Hashem.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Next, I'd like to introduce Michael Soto of the Orange County People's Campaign, Poor People's Campaign, for a collective song.
Hi, everybody. What a beautiful, beautiful afternoon it is today. We have great weather. Everybody should be happy. We are going to be moving in the right direction from here on out with this movement. I'm the moderator for the Neighborhood Congregational Church in Laguna Beach. I'm going to help you sing a song today. Please come down to Laguna Beach to the Neighborhood Congregational Church. Sundays, we're an all-faith church. And so, as my backup singers collect up here, there is a park dedicated to my parents, the Phil and Nell Soto Park in Pomona. My father, Philip Soto, served in World War II, was an Air Force bombardier, and was the first Latino elected to the state legislature in 100 years in 1962. My mother was Nell Soto. She's one of the first Latinas elected to the California State Senate and was a senator till 2008. So, social justice, helping the poor, and striving and working for peace is my legacy from my parents and the reason I'm here today. We're going to do a song, and the name of the song is Somebody's Hurting My Brother. Okay, and here's how it goes. And you're going to sing along. I'll tell you when by directing you. It goes like this. Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on. Then you sing far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. And the last verse, and we won't be silent anymore. So it's real easy. That was our rehearsal, and here we go. Somebody's hurt my sister, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Sing your parts. Somebody's hurting our children, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting our children, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting the refugees, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting the refugees, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. One last verse. And we won't be silent anymore. Thank you. Very good. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Mike. We're going to quick second to take a photo with our last group of speakers, and then I'll introduce our next speaker after that. Lewis. Somebody who's been part of the South Coast Interfaith Council for a long time and who I consider a friend. Imam Abdul Hafiz from the Masjid Sharif here in London.
Thank you, Susan. Welcome and thank everyone for being here on this special and blessed occasion where we strive to go back to the original intention of Armistice Day, and that is the day that there would be peace. As the song decades ago
war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. But I'd like to just share with us a prayer of our father, Adam, when he and our mother, Hawa, of Eve, had fallen, and they turned to God and they said, Rabbana, ظلمنا أنفسنا ولم يغفر لنا ويرحمنا إن كنا من الخاسرين. Our Lord, we have wronged ourselves. And if you don't have mercy upon us and forgive us, then certainly we'll be among the losers. And we too, in the human family, we turn to our Lord and we accept and acknowledge the wrongs that we've done against each other through wars and conflicts and abuses. And we ask God to forgive us and have mercy upon us. And as there's a chapter in the Quran that says, Wal Asr, Inna al-insani lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bis-sabr, that verily through the token of time, men are lost, except for those who believe and who come together and act upon their belief with good actions, and who come together with mutual consultation and tender each other with patience and understanding. May we be among those who come together, bringing patience to each other, consulting each other, consoling each other, collaborating with each other to bring justice and peace to a world that is in need. Amen.
Thank you so much. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Juanita Doppelmore of the Veterans Affairs Committee of Long Beach. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, thank you all for having me and for this opportunity to speak with you guys today. On this day of remembrance and the season of Thanksgiving, I am by the men and servicewomen, for those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. Things like religion, assembly, and speech, which is what we're doing here today. We are here on the home front. We must show them the respect and appreciation for that freedom. Thank you for the family members, the community members, and Americans that stand with us as we continue to fight and keep our lands and shores free and peaceful. As conflicts have moved to our shores, we must, as a collective, work to maintain peace and our freedom and way of life. Those that have fought did that regardless of race, religion, or gender. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you guys here today. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much for all you do for education. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Helen Walker, the Women's Regional Leader of Long Beach of the SGI Youth Service Community. Thank you so much, really, for this opportunity to share our prayers of peace. And it's really based on the Buddhist perspective of compassion, the interconnectedness of life, and the absolute respect for the dignity of all life. So our SGI Buddhist prayer as a grassroots world peace movement encompasses chanting or the recitation of the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And this is based on the teachings of the Lotus Sutra that teaches that all people possess the potential to bring forth their greater self, to live a life of value creation. Therefore, they're all worthy of respect. So this inherent potential is what we call the Buddha nature. This is a state of life that's characterized by wisdom, courage, and compassion. And this guides our thoughts, words, and actions towards peace in our personal life and in society. And our hope is that it starts with the individual and spreads throughout society. We chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo to call forth this Buddha nature. Our SGI president, Daisaku Ikeda, who is a peace activist, who has conducted numerous dialogues based on humanism to create a network of peace, once wrote, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is a universal language understood by all Buddhas. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, in our faith tradition, is also a declaration of inherent dignity and the power within all people. Our Buddhist prayer is also a commitment and a vow as global citizens to actively engage in society, pray for a peaceful and prosperous society for all, and also work together to make it a true reality. With that, I would like to offer our prayer for peace by reciting the phrase 3 times with the spirit that the Buddha does, the voice that the Buddhist works. I will recite it 3 times. Please join me, or in your faith tradition, please meditate or pray. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Next, I'm going to bring back up Pat Elviso, National Coordinator of Military Families. Speak down. Thank you, Susan. Allow me to introduce our friend and ally and hardcore worker behind the scenes in so many areas, Louis Fraser. He just came up. He's a post 9/11 vet. He's kind of spent today, so I'll be taking up some of his time. We're so proud of him. He helped put up a mural today of deported veterans in the city of Bell Gardens.
Yeah, thank you so much for everybody to be here. We want to thank our sponsors and stuff. Okay.
Right. So also we want to thank the South Coast Interfaith Council, Veterans for Peace, and everyone here for joining us today. Honestly, thank you. Yes. I'm so delighted to finally be able to attend an event like this one that is not a reminder, one that is not a painful reminder of how many incredible ways people can come up with to glorify war and use our troops as props. Thank you one and all for sparing me that misery when I keep hearing that thank you for your service signs. I keep seeing that and hearing those pathetic offers of a free cup of coffee to all veterans. And that's what usually takes place on November 11th, but not here and not now and not with all of you. Thank you, because you get it. Today is the day that we declare an end to that narrative, and we are reclaiming Armistice today, Armistice Day. Earlier, I said November 11th is painful for me, as I am sure that it is to other victims of war, because I still can't look away from all the faces of the young recruits I have to witness at the endless color guard ceremonies going on today. And I flash back to my 18-year-old son's innocent face as he was marching off to win a war that he actually thought was going to be helping the Afghan people. Before his first deployment, he packed soccer balls and candy. Instead, he returned like so many others, completely demoralized, because he ended up knocking down the doors of the homes of terrorized families, mostly women and children, and getting flipped off by those very safe children. I watched him deploy 5 more times, each time returning more numb and behaving like death and killing was just a job. Now he struggles every day with the signature of these wars: traumatic brain injury, PTSD, chronic back and neck injuries, and trauma, a hearing loss that will carry with him for the rest of his life. I'm guessing, as so many of our troops were, he was also exposed to depleted uranium, to the burn pits, the toxic water, and the radiation contamination found on so many U.S. bases, and that we exposed to the places where we occupied and the people there. And yet I know I'm lucky, because the children of my friends, Fernando, Jane, Nadia, and Vicky, their kids never came home. So why do we still accept that our greatest treasure, our young, promising youth, when and if they return from wars, that they will become a passive shell of what they were never meant to be? Over 30,100 active duty troops and veterans died by suicide while or after serving in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other fronts since 2001. That's more than 4 times the number who died in combat. And this is why we, all of us in Veterans for Peace, military families, speak out, invite you to join our campaign to find out ways to raise public awareness so we can lift the spirits of our returning troops. Really, we have no idea what our troops are going through right now. They lived it, and it was a nightmare. Help put an end to the national disgrace of 17 military suicides a day. And if we really want to thank our troops for their service, listen, validate their truth without judgment. And offer to be that warm place they can go to, knowing we will always be there for them. Welcoming them home is more than yellow ribbons and a party, yeah?
We want them and future generations to stay home for good. And that is why we're here today. Let's start making that happen right now by reclaiming Armistice Day. This day is the day we celebrate the end of all wars. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for showing up today, sitting and standing and marching in the sun with us. I'm going off script a little bit here, but I wanted to share a little bit about why we're gathered here today. We're gathered here today because a man, Dale Whitney, started sending repeated emails to the Interfaith Council saying, hey, we have a Justice and Peace Committee. We're working towards justice, but what about the peace part? When are we going to do something to call attention to the desperate need for peacemaking? I saw Dale's email. I said, is this yet another day to celebrate militarism? No, thank you. We just don't need another one of those days. But Dale persisted, and he called and he left messages and he sent more emails. So I want to give a big fat thank you to Dale Whitney and Pat Alviso for spearheading and organizing and leading these committee meetings. The committee met every single Saturday at 9 a.m. and then subcommittees during the week. So thank you to everyone. Can everyone who participated on the committee please give a wave to everyone so we can say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank the South Coast Interfaith Council that never backs away from showing up when it comes to a matter of honoring the human spirit and pushing the limits of what's always comfortable for people. So thank you to, I think we have some board members here. Can our CIC board members raise their hands? I see Ron Nelson, I see Patty Heckman, I see Susan Brooks, I see Carol Winder. Thank you so much. And our incredible office administrator, Cheryl Benz, who's been patiently live streaming. Let's give her a big fat round of applause. I want to thank all of our sponsors who said to us, even before we got a chance to, we want to show up. So I want to thank Long Beach Area Peace Network, Veterans for Peace, Orange County Peace Coalition, the Long Beach Gray Panthers, the Muslim American Veterans Association, and I think the Commander Yahya, is that you back there? Commander Yahya has shown up. I'm going to offer him his time. No, okay. He can have his time if he'd like it. We'd love to hear from him. I'd like to thank Military Family Speak Out, Masjid Sharif, Lunar Rising Art Studio, Children's Day USA. If I missed anyone, please forgive me. Please give our sponsors and supporters a big round of applause. Please feel free to grab a kite. We have 11 peace kites. After we disperse, we're going to have some group sing right now, led by our amazing band, Brown the Couscous. Round of applause for Brown the Couscous. They'll be leading us in group song. You should have the lyrics on a little, Dale's holding it up, so feel free to ask someone for a sheet. We're going to please stay with us to sing. Feel free to grab a kite and send the kites up into the air as a beacon for peace today. If somebody needs a ride back to our first site, there is a bus somewhere. The buses are going back and forth, but can you raise your hand if you don't mind giving rides out today? Is there anyone here who can offer rides that's parked on this end? Okay, there's Jane Afonso, chair of our Justice and Peace Committee, is offering rides. Anna Christensen, Pat Alviso, thank you folks. I'm sure there's people here that can help you. Before I invite the Couscous back to close us up with the group song, there is a community announcement from Anna Christensen of the Sierra Club. I'm going to invite her up to make her announcement. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much. My daughter Tasha led the day off with a song from the indigenous people, the Hashiman Tonga people of this area. So it's kind of fitting that I close this up with bringing them back into the picture. Of course, the first wars the United States ever fought were against indigenous people, and that has not stopped. That has not stopped. So right here in our own community, we are fighting a war for the Los Cerritos wetlands and the state and the National Register site of Pavuna up at Cal State Long Beach. There is going to be a town hall announcement, an Orange County town hall on oil spills on November 20th on a Saturday. It's in person and online, and Rebecca Robles will be speaking at that town hall. And I encourage everybody to, as we know the old saying, think globally, but act locally. And get involved in protecting what's left of the natural spaces for all our relations. The plans to restore the low involve building a visitor center, building parking lots, building giant walls to protect oil operations and gas operations. So it's kind of too big to paint this picture, but you can go to puvu.org to learn about the past and ongoing struggles. You can also go to Protect Pavogna. And I just encourage us all to understand that, war against nature is war. And I really like what that vet said about feeling extracted, that our young people are being extracted. So in addition to having people being extracted from their homes, from their community, and sent to kill and die, we are extracting life from this planet every day. So thank you very much. Try to tune into that project.
Thank you for that. Before I hand it over to the band in just a second, I want to thank everybody again on behalf of the South Coast Interfaith Council for being here today. I can't be a president without making a pitch for fundraising, so we need donations to make programs like this happen. But I also say that amazing list of organizations that Sarah shared, please go to their websites, find out what kind of actions you can take, and make donations to them so they can continue their marvelous work. Thank you so much. Thank you.
In this occasion, Interfaith Council. We're going to do let there be peace on earth. We're going to go through it twice, and the first time we're going to do it like the original and have it on the second paragraph. It says, with earth as our mother, we're going to do as God is our father. And then we'll do the second time, earth as our mother. I'm going to do a little intro and get into the song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. Let every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With earth as our mother, family all are we. Let us walk together in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. Let every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
All right, we're gonna close up this event on our part, song by Marvin Gaye called "What's Going On."
Oh, the mother, there's far too many of you.